Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I'm going to show you how you can start working on your own packages and make them appear in ePic character generator. So first thing you want to do is visit the website epicgenerator.net, and you will need to download the software first, so you can actually start working on your own packages and see how they behave in the software and test out all the different functionalities the software has to offer. So this is going to take a minute or two depending on your internet connection, and once the file is downloaded you can just simply install it. Okay, so downloading has finished. You can simply install it to wherever you like. I'm going to install it to drive D ePic character generator. So once installation is completed, you can open the folder. It's going to look like this. You will have these directories in this file, and you can run the software by double-clicking on the executable. Of course, if you already have the character generator installed, you don't need to download it again because all the functionality will be already there. And of course, if you are using the Steam version, it will also be working with the Steam version. Just make sure to follow everything which is mentioned here. Okay, so then you go to create your own, and you will see the developer program here. Here's a basic overview of everything which I'm going to show in today's video. The first thing you want to do is download the developer pack, and as you can see here, you will need to create a free account and of course log into this account so you can have access to the developer pack. Once you logged in and came back to the site, you will see that you now have a download button, so you can hit it and then it will download the developer pack. It's a 35 megabytes file, so it shouldn't take long. And then once the download is complete, you can simply move it into the installation directory of ePic character generation and then just simply extract it here locally. So now you have new folders: the assets, the package generator, and the PSD template. So just to give you a quick overview of what is what in the generator, originally all the packages are located in the dot directory. They are all LBA files, and all of them are a single pack with some more information. So the packages you are going to work with are in the assets directory. So what we are going to do before publishing the pack as a usable pack in the generator is going to convert these folders into a single LBA file. We're going to take a look inside the folders later, but what we are going to look at is the car coffee test folder, and as you can see, it's currently empty. And then we have the package generator. This is all the necessary files to run the generator. It will generate the package documentation and the configuration files and all the images and the icons based on the files which you created. And then we have the PSD template, which is essentially a PSD file with all the layered information we are going to use. So for this, we are going to use Photoshop, and we just need to open the file in Photoshop. And then you can see a basic image here, and on the right side, you can see lots of different categories, one under the other. And what you can do is just take a look at, for example, the pants, make them visible, so the character has now pants. We can make it wear some boots, we can make it wear some top, and then we can select some hair, probably. Yeah, that's the one. So this is essentially how the program is structured internally. You can just check all the different categories, and then if you want to create, for example, a new tiara, you just add a new item here, and you can toggle it, and you will name it 2 and 3 and 4 and all kind of stuff. Most of the categories have two parts. For example, here's the hair preset. This is the front part. So, which means that this is the character, and in a 3D plane, when the character body is, you can decide which part you want to show in front of the character and which one in the back. So if you want to separate the hair, for example, to two parts, one should be before the character. So you can see that it's coming on the shoulders and it's visible here. So now if you go down and search for the hair preset back part, you will see that that part is going to be visible. There it is, hair preset back part. So we can now shuffle this one, and you can see that it's coming right behind the character. So this is a way we can actually split the items into two parts, and then they would behave nicely in a 3D space. It's also important that you should start all items from 1, which means that they can be turned off and nothing will be visible in this category if it is turned off. But there are a few categories, for example the base or skin in this part, which you will always going to have a 0 value in your base characters, because you always want to have a visible character. So now if you are going to make changes to this file, and you can add new categories and so forth, you can create new items and put them and try them on the characters, and then you want to export them. So you can export these images one by hand, clicking everything and put them in the correct parts, or you can use our exporter script, which is, so you select script and then you go to browse, and then you will see it's ePic character generator, PSD, ePic exporter, and here's a GSX file. If you open it, you just take a few seconds, and then you will want to export it to especially the directory you installed it. So ePic character generator, under the assets, under the car coffee test, which we saw earlier, and then under pictures. This is going to be the folder you want to export always, because this is going to be the place which we can use to generate the content of the package. So once you selected this category, you click all layers. This shows it's going to export which are the layers, and one of them is visible, and so on. If you are going to work for a longer period and you only need to export a few items which you added lately, you can just change the visibility over them and export the visible only. It's up to you. But for the first time, we're going to run it for all layers. So now what happens in the background is all the layers are getting copied to different file, so to say, and then the visibility is going to be turned off, so nothing will be visible, and then the script is going to iterate through all of them one by one, toggling the visibility on, exporting the image, toggling the visibility off, then going to the next category, toggling the visibility of the images on, and then going to the next item, and then exporting all of them. So as you can see, it's going to take a while, so we just need to wait until this finishes. It might take a minute or two. Once this is done, we're going to get a pop-up and we are finished with the export. So we can go back to our installation directory and go into the assets folder, and we will see that in the pictures now we have lots of different folders. We have some animals in here, and then you can check the base body. We have a bird, body hair, card, cloak. So all the items we saw earlier in Photoshop are now in the pictures directory. If you don't have Photoshop but you use GIMP, you can also use the exporter plugin we have here. It's called GIMP ePic exporter, and what you need to do in order to use it, just open the GIMP folder, go to the lib directory, go to GIMP and the version number, and then open the plugins folder. And in here you will see lots of different plugins already available for GIMP. So all you need to do is just copy the GIMP ePic exporter zip file here and then extract it here. After extracting, you will notice that an export layers file will be created, and also here's a new folder you can use this is the plugin which you can use to export everything correctly. So now if you come back and open the PSD file with GIMP, you will see some color conversion stuff. You can convert it, and then you see all the same items which we saw earlier here in the layer selection, and you can also check and do everything you already done in Photoshop. And then when we want to export, we can just click File and tick Export Layers. So here what we can do is also go back to the Assets folder and then select Pictures. To make it more clear, I'm going to delete all the pictures from this directory. So here there are no pictures at all, and you always want to have include layers ticked, and later you can also change just to export the visible layers, but for now we are going to export all the images. So once we are done, a separate window will open and you can customize some information for the PNG image here. I will just leave everything on default, and then we can wait until the export finishes. You can see on the right side that the same file structure will be created to what we have seen earlier from the export of Photoshop. There's only one exception, so when it gets to the background, it will also prompt you to fine-tune some details for the JPEG export, and I'm also going to leave it on default. And now it's done. One thing you should keep in mind is if you are going to use the same names for all the items, this is called one. So if you delete the 60, it's going to rename it automatically. But you don't have to worry about this, because this is taken care of the script. These names are always corrected before exporting. So just make sure to name them 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, as you would anyway. So if you go back to the pictures directory, you can see that we have done the export again, and we have all the same items as we saw earlier from the Photoshop export, now using GIMP. So once we finish with this one, we would like to actually see the content of this new pack inside the generator. So we go to the package generator, and if we're going to take a look into the generate car coffee test.bat file, we will see what's inside. So it's basically the exe file and then car coffee, which means this is going to be a base package of what we are going to use, and the extension package or the expansion package is going to be the car coffee test, which means to use this package we will use the same content which is available to all the other packages which uses the same base, so they can be combined with all the other packages. Okay, so then we just need to double click it and run it and it's going to generate all the images for us. So now if we go back to the assets folder, we can see that now we have a text file which is essentially a config file, which just shows the dimension of the images, and then all the items are put in one by one in the different category names which you just saw in the PSD file area. So we can make changes to this config file, but essentially this is what's going to determine what's going to be visible inside the software. And then we have the pictures folder, no changes here, and then we have the icons folder, which means that the software or the config generator has created default icons for all the different items you put into the pictures folder. And you can also notice that there is a new folder called car coffee test pref, which just has been generated for us, and this is going to be the pref file, which is just the small icon in the main menu which will let us access the pack in the generator. So now all of this has been generated, and in order for the software to see that this is something it will need to read, we just need to open the packs.txt in the package generator file and then enter car coffee test. And that's it. You just save the file, close it, and then if you launch the software, it logs you in, and then you click the woman one or the female character. This is actually the car coffee character. And then if you go in, you will see all the packages which are available for this pack, and then you will see a question mark in the end, the custom content pack. This is the pack we had just created. If we start, we will get into this, and then we can change the skin, add some scars, some tattoos, bears if you want. You can use the hair preset, or so you can use some coloring on it. And then we have the different options which we just saw inside the PSD file. We can make all the changes to the character we want. So now if we go to the extreme, we can see that the alpha has not been working properly on this one, because you can see if you change to this lower body, all the legs are still visible in the background. So now what we need to do is you will need to create an alpha pairing between the base package and the test package. So you will get into the car coffee package, go to the alpha, and then see that it's number 5, which is the leg. And then you will go back to the car coffee test, go to pictures, go to extreme, and you will see that this is the first item which needs to be done. And then what you can do here is create a text file called alpha.txt, and then what you put here is that the first item in this folder should activate the 5th item in the alpha folder. So now if you just save it, you go back and run the package generator again, it will now create a different entry in the config file. So now the generator will know that it should hold the lower body when this is selected. So we can go back and then we start the package, and now if we go to the extreme, you can see that the legs are indeed removed and only the new extreme category which is visible. Okay, so now we know how to create an expansion package for any of the existing characters, but what if you want to create a completely new character from scratch, for example? So what you can do is still use the same assets for a test, and then you will go into this generate car coffee test but, and what you do is just delete the base character. So you will only going to generate car coffee test, and since there is no base character before this one, the generator will know that this is going to be a standalone character which should be usable by itself without any other extensions. Okay, so now if you run it, you can see that it flashed up for a while, but then nothing really happened. So what you want to do is open a command line, type cmd in system, go into this folder, and then just type the bat file, and then you will see an error message here saying that car coffee test pictures base 0png is not found, default base should always exist, terminating package generation. So what this means is if you are going to create a brand new pack from scratch, there are 2 folders which you should take a look at. Background is the first one, we only have 1 JPEG, and then the other one is the base, which have 1 PNG. So in these 2 folders you should always have default items. For example, in the base package we have this 0 background, so we can just put this one to here, and then if you go back here to the base, we also have a 0 one, and we can just do the same, go to pictures, base, and put in this one. And now remember that we made some alpha in here, so if we want to keep the alpha working, what we should do is go to the main and copy all the alphas to the other directory. Fine. So now we should be set. We can rerun the bat file. As you can see, it's working fine. It's now creating the package. It's also an interesting point to mention that if you make changes to the package and just regenerate the stuff in the pictures directory, you don't need to restart the generator. You can just move back to the main menu and then select the character again. But if you are going to add new packages, you will need to restart it, otherwise it won't load all the changes. You will see that now we have a place here to go to the next page, and now we have our custom content here. If we start it, we are going to see the same character we did see earlier. Now it's just different, that it's now a base character and there are nothing here. Otherwise, on the other pack, if we went into the settings, we would have seen all the other expansion packages available to the same base, and they could have been able to combine them. So this is everything you need to know to set up your characters, and I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, let us know. We can't wait to see what you're going to come up with in the custom character section.